That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, y'all know we have been doing a ton of those Dynasty mock drafts over the past, I want to say, month now. I have a couple announcements. One, we are going to have average draft position data available from those Superflex Dynasty mock drafts very, very soon. Obviously, I'll be giving you your announcement where you can see that. It's most likely going to be on Patreon, but I'm just going to put it as a post that is completely free for anybody to view. So even if you are not supporting the show on Patreon, you still will have access to it. I just think that's a much better idea than me going out there and actually making a website for it. If I can just actually post that list right there where a majority of this audience is already there to begin with, that's going to be something nice. But a trend I have been noticing in these mock drafts is I am finding myself drafting the same players over and over and over again. I mean, there are some guys that have drastically fallen down draft boards from where they were last offseason. And yeah, a lot of it makes sense. I mean, a lot of it you see, they go, okay, their situation is significantly worse. Okay, they proved to not be as talented as we thought they were. But in some particular instances, that is just not the case. And I think that is not the case right now with a player that I hated last offseason. Cortland Sutton was a guy that I did not own in a single Dynasty league going into 2020. And clearly that worked out, not because we were smart or anything, just because we got lucky with the injury that Cortland Sutton suffered at the very beginning of the season. And I think now Dynasty owners have really moved his price down to a point where he went from being completely overvalued to completely undervalued just in a matter of about 4 months. And now I will say that we have some real life data to give you at the end of the video of where Cortland Sutton is going in these Dynasty startup drafts. But we're going to have so much else to talk about. And before we get into it, if you have not already, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much. And yeah, let's start talking about Cortland Sutton. Now, Cortland Sutton is a wide receiver that is only 25 years old, despite him seeming like he should be a lot older than that, as it seems like we have been talking about him forever since he was a wide receiver at SMU. And with Cortland Sutton, he's going to be on the last year of his rookie contract in 2021. And we all know this is a monstrous wide receiver. I mean, he is 6'3", about 220 pounds. Pretty much the perfect size for an Alpha X wide receiver. Someone that you would want to see 25 to 30% of his team's target share. And going into 2021, I hated the evaluation of Cortland Sutton. I went, yes, I understand, guys. I mean, he looks like he could be an Alpha X wide receiver. He looks like someone that could jump up into that elite range. But he was being drafted near his ceiling, in my opinion. He was being drafted in high-stakes redraft leagues around the wide receiver 17 range, which is obviously an early to mid wide receiver 2. And in Dynasty leagues, he was already being drafted as the wide receiver 18, so a mid wide receiver 2. But I did not like the price. I mean, we looked at what the Denver Broncos did in the 2020 NFL Draft, and instead of going out there and trying to address the quarterback position, they kind of doubled down on the pass catching options around Drew Lock. They spent the 15th overall pick on Jerry Jeudy. They went through and in the mid-second round took KJ Hamler, another wide receiver, after investing into a receiving tight end in the first round of 2019. Now, these additions you would naturally think were going to take targets away from Cortland Sutton. And I was screaming from the rooftop saying, sell Cortland Sutton. Obviously, this is going to hurt his opportunity this upcoming season. Obviously, we are not going to have that likely chance that he hits that team 25% target share. And his price did not change at all. So I believe I only had him in one league, and I decided to go out there and trade him away. But guys, I understand that he was overvalued last offseason. I think we can all agree on that now, just looking back on how excited Dynasty owners were with Cortland Sutton. But at this point, it's ridiculous. I mean, I am drafting him in these mock drafts as a low-end wide receiver 3, high-end wide receiver 4. I mean, we are looking at a couple mock drafts where he was drafted as the wide receiver 33. I mean, I took him at the very end of the 7th round, and he was being drafted behind players like Henry Ruggs, Michael Pittman, Tyler Lockett, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, and DJ Chark. And then if we add on the fact that there were not rookies included in this mock draft, we would have naturally seen the Devontae Smith. We would have seen the Jamar Chase. We would have seen the Rondale Moore. We would have seen the Rashad Bateman, possibly even a Jalen Waddle. And if we had those 3 to 5 wide receivers go ahead of Cortland Sutton in that dynasty startup, we would have seen Cortland Sutton drafted as a high-end wide receiver 4. Now, this is something very similar to what we've talked about earlier this offseason, where I went through and in the middle of last year, when nobody was talking about him, when he was not getting playing time, I was looking at a guy like A.J. Dillon and screaming at y'all to go out there and send trade offers for him. Personally, I was able to pick up A.J. Dillon with some late 2nd round picks, with some early 3rd round picks, and we were able to do that because the market was not efficiently priced on A.J. Dillon. They were not taking into account that Aaron Jones was a free agent, but then the rest of the dynasty community caught on. Then we had the big A.J. Dillon blow-up game at the very end of the season. Then we had some other dynasty podcasters coming out here and going, okay, guys, I got an under-the-radar guy for you. We got A.J. Dillon. We know that Aaron Jones is going to be a free agent this offseason. While everybody who was paying attention already had A.J. Dillon accumulated on those dynasty rosters, and then you see his price skyrocket. He goes from being a running back that we were getting with late 2nd round rookie picks to being someone that is drafted at the 6th round in a dynasty startup draft, someone that is worth a late 1st. And I'm going, okay, guys, nothing here changed. What changed for y'all to go out here and drastically change this evaluation to the point where, yeah, maybe y'all had him valued down here. His true value probably should have been about here, but now y'all are overcorrecting to jump him up here? I think it's the same thing going on right now with Cortland Sutton, where we had a lot of people last offseason who valued him as that late 4th round startup pick. I mean, they valued him just at the very top of the wide receiver 2 tier. And then he gets injured, even in the limited action that he had in about a half of football. I mean, he looked dominant. He looked fantastic. He gets a torn ACL at the very beginning of the year, so he should be back in 2021. And y'all want to drop him down to a point where really it just makes no sense. What changed with this situation? Nothing has changed. So while I agreed that I think that his value should have been lowered, I don't think it should have been lowered nearly this much. So I will be going out there. I will be sending out offers for Cortland Sutton. And if we are trying to put into context a little bit of what Cortland Sutton is just as a wide receiver, let's look at 2019. Let's look at his sophomore year where he was able to put up 72 receptions, about 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And now in 2019, he did this with Drew Lock. I mean, in 2019, we know the Denver Broncos had some of the worst quarterback play in the entire NFL. So we should not really be discounting this production, as it was extremely impressive for a wide receiver that was only, I believe, 24 years old. Now, I know that really these numbers don't mean a lot unless we actually go through and we compare it to some other sophomore year wide receivers. So let's look at the top 3 wide receivers from the 2019 draft class and what they were able to do in their sophomore seasons. And let's start it off with 2 studs that are so much more valuable than Cortland Sutton, and everybody knows it in Dynasty. They should be more valuable. I'm not saying that Cortland Sutton's in this range. I'm just trying to draw a comparison here. And DK Metcalf in his sophomore year was able to go out there, 83 receptions, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. A.J. Brown, 70 receptions, about 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin, 87 receptions, 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns. So if you're looking at Cortland Sutton, well, yeah, I mean, obviously he's not going to be in that DK Metcalf range. He's not going to be in that A.J. Brown range. Really? Is the gap that big between their talent profiles? Now, I will say that, yes, this is coming from someone who was calling Cortland Sutton severely overvalued last offseason, and I know a lot of y'all are going to call me a hypocrite. A lot of y'all are going to say that I'm just bouncing back and forth and my takes don't mean anything. But I like to say that I kind of have remained neutral on Cortland Sutton throughout this entire process. And I've been trying to reach out to people on Patreon going, you know what? Why are you asking me if Cortland Sutton is a player we should be trading for the rookie pick 111 this year? Cortland Sutton has proved that he is going to be an impact wide receiver at the NFL level. There's no reason that we want the rookie pick 111 over Cortland Sutton, even though everybody in the Patreon chat was saying, take the pick, take the pick, take the pick. And I'm going, guys, why? Why? Answer me that. And they're just saying, oh, Drew Lock is horrible. Drew Lock is horrible. He's never going to be able to support Cortland Sutton. And my counter argument to that is, one, it's already happened. Drew Lock has already supported Cortland Sutton. But more importantly, I don't think Drew Lock is going to be the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I mean, Deshaun Watson has come out and he has said that he would love to play for the Broncos. If you look at Vegas odds, they have the Broncos as the 5th most likely team to land Deshaun Watson. So by no means is it likely. We are just going to be looking at all the other quarterbacks that are possibly available to the Denver Broncos this offseason. I mean, you have Carson Wentz, you have Matt Ryan, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, you have Sam Darnold, you have Dak Prescott, and you have Deshaun Watson. Then you can go through and you can go, hey, maybe they get a Trey Lance. Maybe they get a Zach Wilson. Maybe they get a Mac Jones. Maybe they get someone that we're not even knowing is going to be at the top of their draft board and they're able to go out there and effectively replace Drew Lock. I think if the floor is Drew Lock, it can really only get better. So if we are going to be drafting wide receivers ahead of Cortland Sutton that also have quarterback questions like Michael Pittman, Jerry Jeudy, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Juju, Brandon Ayuk, Kenny Golladay, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, I think we need to be giving a pass to Cortland Sutton. I think we need to remember where his value was last offseason. We need to understand that while, yes, we should not be raising him to where his value was because this team did invest into Jerry Jeudy. They invested into KJ Hamler. They have Noah Fant, who should be seeing targets. Cortland Sutton should not be valued as a high-end wide receiver 4, low-end wide receiver 3. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to continue to talk about this until this price is corrected. And I'm going to go out in my own Dynasty leagues and send out some offers for Cortland Sutton. But that's all I got for y'all. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.